Welcome back, students, to my channel. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic in physics, which is Newton's third law of motion. What this law states that to every action there is always equal and opposite reaction. That is, forces of action and reaction, they are equal and opposite. Suppose we have a object A. That object apply force on another object B. Suppose this force is F1. Then this B object will also apply the force on A, same amount F2 but in opposite direction. This is nothing but action and reaction. They are always equal and opposite. Okay, so this means this F1 force will be equal to F2 force, but this is in opposite direction. Okay, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Let's start discussing this Newton's third law with the help of real life examples. First example, what we have here, students, walking. What we are doing during walking, we are pushing the ground in a backward direction. As you can see in this video also, that when we are walking with our foot, we are pushing the ground in a backward direction. That pushing is nothing but a action. What we call that? That is action. Okay, now in return, the ground also apply the equal and opposite force on our foot. In which direction? Forward direction. That force is nothing but a reaction. What we call that? Reaction. That is, action and reaction are equal and opposite. And because of that reaction force, which is ground applying on our foot, that enables us to walk forward. Okay, clear, students? What we have, you can see in this, the floor, the force on the floor is in which direction? It is in backward direction. The force which foot applies on the floor is in which direction? In a forward direction. So this opposite and equal forces are nothing but action and reaction. Clear, student? Now I think walking is clear to you this. What happen if the ground is slippery or covered with snow or sand? Then in that case we exert smaller force in the form of backward action on the ground. So that's why the forward reaction of the ground will reduce accordingly. Clear? Let's move to the next example. What we have here, next example. Yes, a very interesting example of Newton's third law of motion, swimming. What we are doing in swimming? We are pushing the water in which direction? Backward direction. With the help of our foot. Okay, what we are doing? Check here. We are applying the force with our hands and our feet, and we are pushing the water in a backward direction. That is which force? That is action force. In return, the water will also apply the force on our body in which direction? In forward direction. That force is nothing but what we call that force? Reaction force. So you can observe in video also, it is clearly visible that a swimmer is pushing the water in backward direction. Same way the water apply the force on a swimmer in which direction? Forward direction. The same concept, Newton third law, to every action there is always equal and opposite reaction. Clear, students? Now let's move further. Next example, what we have here, recoiling of gun. So students, when we fire the bullet from the gun, now the gun applies the force. This gun, if we will see, this gun will apply the force on bullet. In which direction? In forward direction. Okay, that is which force? Action. What we call that force? Action force. Now in return, this bullet will also apply the force on gun. In which direction? Backward direction. That is which force? Force of reaction. Again, the action and reaction are equal and opposite. So this is the reason on firing the gun exerts some force on bullet in which direction? Forward direction. In turn, bullet exert equal force on the gun in backward direction. So that's why the person who is holding the gun will feel the jerk in which direction? Backward direction. You can observe in this video also, while firing, bullet goes in which direction? Forward, and in return that bullet apply the equal force on the gun in a backward direction, and a person who is holding the gun feels the jerk in a opposite direction. Clear, students? Okay, let's move to the next. What we have next example. Very interesting example, and so many questions asked on this example, that on flying of the rockets and jet planes, what is happening, student, here? That we know that there is a fuel who burnt here in the which will appear in the form of hot gases. Okay, which comes in which direction? Downward direction. Okay, when fuel is burnt, hot gases will become comes out from the this lower part of the rocket. Okay, in which direction? Downward direction. So this is nothing but action. What we call this? Force action. Now in return, these gases will also exert the force on which? On rocket. In which direction? Upward direction. Or this upward force will help the rockets to fly. Clear, students? So this all is nothing that what it states, they are using the Newton third law of motion, that every action there is equal and opposite reaction. You can observe in the video also what they are showing. The gases are coming out in which direction? Downward direction. They are applying the equal and opposite force in which direction, students? In a upward direction. Okay, so this is nothing but Newton's third law. I hope all these examples are clear to you, that how Newton law is applicable to these examples. If these examples are clear, please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you, everyone.